So we see Krysten, well, actually, Mitch opens up. He's talking to his friend and his neighbor, Shayna. He said they actually did a lot of hanging out during the shutdown, when the pandemic and everything. And so he calls and asks her for advice because she knows him very well. And he shares that, you know, they had an incident where I guess he was a little too, he guessed he was a little too comedic in the bedroom. And so Krysten called him out on it.
I wonder what was he doing?
He said before, he said in a previous episode that sex is funny. And so he must have laughed about something.
Nobody wants somebody laughing and giggling the whole time y'all having sex.
Whatever she said to him and pointed out and called him out about, he said it kind of made him feel insecure and put me in a box like I can't be, you know, make jokes when we had, you know. And Shayna was like, well, you know, think about it from her perspective. She's a stranger, y'all in a new relationship, trying to get used to each other and being intimate, and you joking during intimacy. Like, that's not a good idea. She might be self-conscious about herself, how she's doing, what she's doing, and you making jokes, and now she like, what the heck? And he was like, you know, he said what she said affected him more than he thought. But Shayna's like, also think from her perspective. And Shayna says, you know, you need to talk to her about it and kind of show her that you can be mature and not make jokes, you know, when it comes to the intimacy part.
Probably why he didn't have a sex life prior to this. There's a lot of things when you talk about Mitch would be like, that's why you didn't have a sex life, because you're filthy, you dirty, you nasty. And when you do have sex, you're cracking jokes and lying you're cracking jokes all the time. And you're not serious. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to hear jokes.
Dr. Pia comes to visit them, asks, you know, how is trust with them. Both of them say, you know, it's good and they trust each other. And, you know, she's like, can we explore that? Let's get more data to dig deeper. And so she has some questions for them. You know, who was your childhood? He says, the question was, who's your childhood hero / heroine? He said, heroin.
Heroin.
That was so funny. I was like, heroin. Like, the female hero. You ain't, no, okay, anyway. And so he was like, yeah, I was like really into action movies. The buff dude come along and saving the day. And he never actually said who his hero was. So I guess just all the action movie
He was
people.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, all those guys.
And Dr. P was like, well, okay, so why is that? He was like, I guess from cultural conditioning, and I used to write stories and imagine myself being the superhero in it, you know, kind of like the protector and the savior, you know. I just imagine myself doing that. And so Krysten's response to who her heroine was in childhood, she said it was my mom. My mom was a baddie, you know. She raised us as a single mom. You know, she's a Cuban immigrant. I think that's the first time we've heard that.
Yeah, I didn't know she was Cuban. Yeah, that's the first time I heard that.
No idea. That her mom was a Cuban immigrant, and she worked her way up from the bottom to the point where she's now extremely wealthy. And, you know, not that we're bragging in that, but she worked herself to that point. And so he interrupts her and is like, but did you feel that way as a child? And she's like, yeah, I'm answering the question. Like, why are you questioning me?
Well, yeah, why are you asking me about my mom? My mom always been my hero, basically.
Why you don't just say, oh, that sounds amazing. What a great story. And then she goes into, you know, that's a sensitive point for me about my family. And I made the comment that I just didn't expect the conversation to go that way. I would have felt more like, I'm not stupid. I know what the question is, and I'm answering the question. Why would you ask me, am I answering the question?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and it got sensitive because remember, her mom and her dad are split, and that was a rough thing for her. She talked about them splitting in last episode and previous episodes that her parents had split up. So we really haven't gotten into what the relationship is like after the fact of the split. I know she's real close to her dad. She didn't. She never really spoke about mom that much. We did see mom at the wedding, you know. So there's some things that there. So
Say that again.
We didn't see her mom at the wedding, did we?
Yes, you did. That's the one she walked down the aisle.
Oh,
Mitch
yes.
thought that was his bride.
That was the mom. Sorry, I forgot about that. I forgot Mitch. We did see the mom at the wedding. Sorry, but mom and dad split. So I think when she talked about sensitive situation it's because of the divorce and how she grew up.
Maybe so, but I just didn't expect her to, because I didn't feel like he was questioning her family. He was just like, so your parent was your hero in childhood? Really? You know, he was like, because some of the things you said were in present tense, so it didn't sound like you were talking about. She was like, no, but obviously when you're a child, you see that. You see, if you really pay attention, you know when you didn't have something to eat and then you did, and you know it wasn't nobody but your mother that came through. So anyway.
But I mean, Mitch didn't know that because he thought his dad was his hero. He really enjoyed his dad. I mean, and when you talk about last episode again, how he really appreciated dad and hung around his dad. So I guess he was thinking, in Mitch's mind, Mitch was probably thinking somebody other than family members.
Maybe so.
Other than somebody that you connected to. When you say hero, people are thinking he's thinking outside of family.
The other question was, you know, what kind of person, when you think about your kids, what kind of person do you think your kids would be based on, you know, the parents that are raising them? And he was like, you know, I think that our kids would be really awesome. They'd have a strong sense of knowing that they love and, you know, that we run a tight ship or whatever. And she was like, you know, they would get the best of both worlds from a rule follower and a rebel. So, you know, they would be unique in that aspect. And so she asks about how their intimacy is going, and, you know, they share. We actually pump the brakes on intimacy. And in her vignette, Krysten was like, you know, I think when he gets nervous, he jokes a lot. And so, you know, when we were intimate, that happened. And I was like, I want you to take this serious. You know, we're really trying to build something. And, you know, he says in pop culture, sex is kind of built up to be this perfect and this really staged thing. And he said to me, in real life, it has and is. My sex life is awkward and funny. You know, there's weird sound. He was like, this weird sounds and human fluids, and it's just funny to me. What?
Mitch, are we 41 or are we 12? Are we 41 or 12? How old are we, right? At what point do you grow up?
Now, I'm not going... Now, look, I ain't going to front with you. Sometimes it do be funny stuff that happens. It really do.
It does be funny stuff that happen, but you...
But the whole thing is not funny.
No, but at the point...
I promise, y'all have laughed at least once.
Yeah, people...
In an interaction like, oh my gosh, listen to the bed. Oh, did you hear that? Why you sound like that? Why you look like that? You know... But you don't stay there, because then the other person gets self-conscious and be like, you know, stuff will start drying up.
So you 12? You're like Mitch, all right? But
I'm not 12. I'm saying when that happens, like the mood is gone, and so it's like I don't even feel like it no more. So you have to be careful with your laughs and your jokes during it. But it do be some funny stuff. Laugh afterwards.
Laugh afterwards. Maintain and talk about it after the fact.
Laugh afterwards. It's that easy. But anyway.
I guess he can't. Mitch has to go and he kill again, like you just said. He kills the mood. It's a mood for her. And she may be one of the people who takes it seriously because this is her husband. We know she mentioned on After Party a while back that he's not that long anyway. Well, the length of their sex is not that long.
Endurance.
The endurance is not, yeah. The endurance is not there. Maybe he thinks that's funny. That's why he probably nervous, right? All this stuff goes into why Mitch thinks it's funny.
But what she said is, you know, that will work in an older marriage where you've been together for a while, where you're used to each other. But not in a fairly new one. Like, don't be cracking no jokes like, why is that over there like that? Why is this leaning like that?
Why your leg like that? Why you make that sound? Why you do that?
Because, but you know, she says, you know,
why the dog looking at us? Can he get out the room, please?
She says, I feel like that's disgusting.
He said that it was
right.
The dog just said they're looking.
Right. She says, you know, I think maybe if I can get the Mitch that I had in the last week, you know, I'd be good. I would feel more comfortable about putting sex back on the table. And Dr. P was like, well, what kind of Mitch did you get? She said, I got the attentive, vulnerable Mitch. And, you know, nothing she did or said triggered him into his Mitchisms. Which reminds me, when the girls talked to Krysten, like, Lindy was like, you ought to tell Mitch stop acting like a B-I-C-T-H, and in that order. I was like, well, dang, Lindsay. Because Krysten shared with the girls, you know, we kind of put the brakes on it. We paused on it because I want to get to know him better emotionally. And, you know, Mitch tells the guys the same thing, you know, that he's still not sure where they're going. And
how do you give him the goodies? And then you talk about, I want to know him emotionally, and you just put the pause on it. Well, shouldn't you know him emotionally and all that first before you gave him the goodies? So what is he supposed to think now that he was getting the goodies? You stopped. Don't explain why you stopped. Now,
I think she did explain why.
All this runs through his mind about, why am I not getting the goodies anymore?
Yeah. But Mitch shares, you know, he's still not sure where they are. He's having a hard time with long-term planning, thinking about where they are. Krysten said, she shares with the girls, I put my walls up to protect myself, and I, you know, kind of pushed him away. No, it's not the marriage that I envisioned, but, you know, overall he's a good guy. But anyway, so later on, they have some questions to answer. And then they have their intimacy stuff. What's the toughest experience that you had to deal with? And he was like, he had a failed sunscreen lotion business that he wanted to put it in non-plastic packaging, and it just really failed. And he said it helped him to grow and not to let the failure keep him stuck in that place.
I was sitting there trying to figure out what package can you put it in and not. And suntan lotion, right? You can put it in a steel, but you're going to have to...
No, sunscreen.
Sunscreen, sorry. You're going to have to, like, pour it out. You can't be able to squeeze whatever it is. I was sitting there trying to figure out, what did he put this in? That you can put labels on and all this other stuff. I hope it wasn't like that pouch that he had with the food.
I mean, if it was lined with something, some kind of wax or... I mean, I could see it being paper, but I don't know. But anyway, so... that gave her some greater insight into Mitch. And so later on, the other questions they talk about, here we go. What's your favorite sexual position? She was like, definitely doggy style. And he was like, yeah, me too. It's a good ending position for me, you know, because it results in me getting an orgasm and it puts me in control. But I do like it when you be on top. And
Mitch is selfish.
But he's like giggling.
And laughing.
The whole time he's talking about,
he's 12.
This is what she's talked about.
He's 12. He's just giggling about, you know, first of all, as a guy, you have your ending wherever you're going to have your ending at, whatever position it is. But he's like, I can be in control. Control the what, Mitch? You're laughing and giggling the whole time. Nobody wants to be there and you laughing and giggling the whole entire time. Mitch, and, you know, she's like, you be on time. And she started blushing, so she liked it. I mean, the conversation. She enjoyed the conversation they were having. And then, you know, they end up laying together on the beach. But. Because
the question was, how do you like to be held? Show him. And so she laid down and, you know, on the little blanket or whatever, so they could show how they want to be held.
He was a big
And, you know, the questions are helping them build back up to the point of being sexual again, sexually intimate. And so later on, they have an exercise where they have to explore each other's bodies.
Oh, before that, because she was like, he's a big spoon, and he laid on her chest to show her how he liked to be held. And I think she said, you ain't got to don't suck on my nipple, or something to that extent. Because Mitch was laid up there like he was a little baby, like, you know, like he was mama's boy. He's a kid.
They did these exercises to explore each other's bodies without words or jokes, just touch and sensation. And they had a good time doing that. Like, they literally, I want to say, they did the body wax. Mm-hmm. They did the body wax thing, and I mean, the body oil, the warm body oil, and massaging, and he's rubbing her feet and everything. And I thought it was funny because they're supposed to do it without any words or jokes, but at the same time, they were still chuckling. Like, he's messing with her feet. She's like, I'm like, I mean, I'm sure it's because she's ticklish, but at the same time, I'm just like...
Failed.
Same thing.
Failed.
It's the same
It's a fail.
thing.
You didn't follow instructions. Failed. They failed. But nah, their intimacy did pick up. It's just the laughing and giggling that needs to stop. And I don't know how you stop that because we don't have the laughing and giggling. So.
Say what now?
I said I don't know how you stop the laughing and giggling with them. And I said we don't have that too much laughing and giggling. I'm not doing it anyway.
First of all, I feel like that's TMI. That's none of your business.
Oh.
That ain't none of y'all's business. But I am ticklish, so I disagree. I'm ticklish, so I'm gonna giggle. Okay.
But it's not embarrassing.
No, but.
I mean, after 20-some years.
Just don't be looking.
After 20-some years, I should know where you laugh and giggle at in the tickle spots. I mean, just saying.
TMI. I want you, when this goes out, make sure you put TMI on the screen.
Yeah, I might do that. I don't know.
TMI, please.